Welcome back. You're watching To The Point. I'm now joined by Congress spokesperson MP Abhsiehk Singhvi, BJP spokesperson Subramaniam Swamy, and from the JDU, a close advisor to Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, Pavan Verma. Also with me, the chairman of the Hindu NRAM, the well-known columnist Siddharth Bhatia, and one of India's top sociologists, Shiv Vishwanathan. Let's begin this particular half of the program by looking at the nature of the battle and campaign that's been waged by the three men at the very top, Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi and Arvind Kejriwal. First, Narendra Modi. Do you get the feeling, Siddharth Bhatia, that he's been practically indefatigable? 437 rallies, often 3 or 4 a day, and the papers estimate he's probably covered more than 3 lakh miles since he began sometime in March. Do you say that he's actually been, in a sense, the man who set the agenda, at least in terms of the campaign?
You know, it's certainly been an extremely high energy campaign backed by high decibel and high volume publicity machine. So this level of almost in your face kind of campaigning has never been seen before in India. Don't forget that the rallies have been accompanied by a lot of supplementary publicity on television, outdoor media. You go on a YouTube channel, you see him. So he became kind of an all-encompassing kind of thing, and every conversation began to be about him, what he says and what the others say. So yes, in that sense, he did begin to set the agenda. I would go as far as to say he became the agenda. The problem with that is what kind of agenda was that? I mean, that you will debate it in a minute, I'm sure. But that became the real issue. What kind of agenda was it? It began with development and it slowly moved across the arc and became casteist and borderline communalist.
I definitely will take up that question in a moment's time. What sort of agenda did Mr. Modi set? And secondly, whether Mr. Modi deviated from the agenda he wanted to set to one that he'd indicated he wouldn't set. But before I do that, let me put this to you, Shiv Vishwanathan. Do you think Mr. Modi made great use of technology? He, after all, has dominated social media. He had these gatherings that he would handle through satellite in 15, 16 connections altogether. He had his chai stop things. Do you think he's actually made terrific use of 21st century social media and 21st century technology?
Look, if Modi was a rocket, Tumba would have been proud of him. Look at the way he handled every stage. This is a technologically savvy guy. In fact, even the Americans were a bit jealous of the way he used the hologram, the social media. I think here is a man who understands technology, but knows how to locate it politically. I think that's the difference between Rahul. Rahul is technologically interested, but politically challenged. Modi pulls both together.
Abhsiehk Singhvi, do you want to come in on that? A man who handles technology, but more importantly, a man... We don't have Abhsiehk Singhvi, my apologies. Okay, what about, let me put that to you, Mr. Ram, that we have here in Mr. Modi a man who handles technology brilliantly, and that in comparison to Rahul Gandhi, he knew how to locate it politically, he knew how to use it to the best effect, he knew how to target the young in particular. Rahul, on all those critical factors, lost out, and that's where, in one sense at least, Modi's campaign scored over Rahul. We've lost NRAM? Oh, what a pity. We've lost both NRAM and Abhsiehk Singhvi. Let's then come to that issue that Siddharth Bhatia was talking about. Mr. Modi promised that he would concentrate on governance. He promised he would concentrate on development issues. But as the campaign reached its critical last 3 stages, he began to talk about Bangladeshi immigrants. He began to talk about his own caste appeal. He began delivering enormous speeches with Ram as backgrounds. Why did that happen? And in the process, did he actually let down what he intended to do?
No, not at all, because Modi is, after all, a team player, and it was certainly understood from day one that development would be one very important aspect of our campaign. The other would be national integrity. Now, what are the dimensions of national integrity, which may be acceptable to some and not acceptable to others? But within that framework of national integrity, he had to, he decided to, after he had pounded the issue of governance to the point where people accepted that he would bring about change, what happened in Gujarat could be brought about.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
You're putting it in terms of national integrity, national issues suddenly taking over from governance and development. But many people turn around and say that this is a classic case of Modi's mask slipping. And they ask, did it slip because he became overconfident and therefore prone to accident, or did it slip because the last two stages where UP and Bihar are going to the polls are so critical, he became tense and anxious?
No, I don't think so. I think take for example the question of the infiltration from Bangladesh. It was a major issue in Bengal, and Mamata Banerjee or the CPM or the Congress was not addressing it, and it was an issue on which
was he polarizing Bengal to his benefit by raising it? Because that's what others.
I don't know why it should be called polarizing between whom and whom. After all, the fact is that the infiltration is bad for the whole country. It's a national integrity issue.
Let me bring in Abhsiehk Singhvi because you're back with us. Abhsiehk Singhvi, the point that we're discussing is that Mr. Modi has been able to use multiple elements of the 21st century technologies of information and the social media in a far better and more effective way than Rahul Gandhi, and as a result of which, whether you look at his message as polarizing or whether you look at it as development and governance, he got it across more effectively. Rahul Gandhi wasn't able to do that. And as a result, Modi dominated or set the agenda. Rahul became just another voice.
I certainly don't agree with many of your formulations, but it is true to the extent that if you talk of hype, marketing, halla gulla, shorgul, constantly trying to grab the headlines, yes, in many ways Modi and his people have been more adept at creating a hype and a mahal. But let me tell you that it is not very different from what happened in 2004, when a very similar kind of hype without Modi was sought to be created. And in 2009, Mr. Advani was exactly the same Prime Ministerial candidate as Mr. Modi. So to think that people cannot distinguish between a lot of hype, a lot of gas and gubbaras, and a constant taunting assault on the senses, I think people of India are far too mature as an electorate not to make that difference. And they do look at substance and issues as well.
And Ram, I'm picking up on that point made by Siddharth Bhatia that Modi became the agenda. He didn't just set the agenda. There were moments when he was himself the agenda. But do you think as a result of that, the BJP campaign transformed into a Modi campaign? And did that stand the BJP in good benefit? Or did the BJP as a party as a result lose out because a personality cult took over?
Yes, there's certainly a personality cult of the kind we haven't seen for a very long time, perhaps since the emergency when Indira was declared as India and so on. I would factor in, Karan, here the astonishing bias in objective terms shown by the media, because CMS Media Lab study showed that over one-third of prime-time television, prime-time on television on some major channels, doesn't include yours but one of your sister channels, went to Modi and also to the BJP. Congress got only 10% and Rahul Gandhi got only 4% compared to 33 point something for Modi, which is quite a shocking statistic, allowing for a more orchestrated campaign, better marketing and so on. That kind of gap is, I think, a very poor reflection on the performance of our news media, news television at any rate. Well, your channel is not part of this.
It's very kind of you to exclude our channel from that particular accusation. Let me bring in Siddharth on that point. Siddharth Bhatia, do you get the feeling that in fact Modi is very much more a dominant issue in media, maybe in television or the newspapers, than he is in the country? And as we view the Modi campaign from the standpoint of television or the press as a whole, we tend to exaggerate. Maybe its impact nationwide is less, because that seems to be a corollary to the criticism you're hearing from Enram. Do you accept it? That Modi has lost credibility, it had been reduced to junk stock. Junk stock.
Are you asking me?
I am indeed. You're the only one who would be willing to defend Rahul Gandhi tonight, so go ahead, it's yours. The floor is yours, as they say.
There is absolutely no doubt that the constituencies, the persons, the kind of people, the kind of philosophy which both Rahul Gandhi and the Congress espouse involves segments which don't even enter into Mr. Modi's calculus. So you will certainly have crony capitalists, you will certainly have the Sensex pushers, you will certainly have a very strong lobby of capitalists supporting him.
What question are you answering? Because that's not the question I asked.
That is mistaking No, that's the answer. That's the whole thing about the difference you're starting with. It's
You mean
mistake to
regardless of
assume
the question,
that
there's
the
a stock
urban
answer.
electorate, it's a mistake to assume that the urban electorate, it's a myth which the BJP has tried to assiduously build. In 2009, it was totally exploded. We won more urban seats, and what you're saying
What about
today is pure speculation.
2014?
As far as the heart is concerned, yes. In Rahul Gandhi's case, the heart has not been pronouncing and hankering for the last 2 years only about Prime Ministership.
Okay.
The heart has been hankering about Abhiyans. He started much before Modi. He went and did all India campaigns much before Modi. He did genuine grassroots reform in several organs of the government much before Modi. Yes, he did show this great desperation to be Prime Minister, that one single-minded desperation for one post.
The truth is, you have to want the job to get the job. And if you don't want the job, chances are you won't.
You have to want the job. You have to want the job by saying that yes, you're a leader and you'll do everything possible to do good, which will get you the Prime Ministership, and he has said so again when the MPs elect him. But he has not gone berserk about his thing about the Prime Ministership.
All right, let me bring in Siddharth Bhatt at that point. There's a very interesting play on this word heart between N. Ram and Abhsiehk Singhvi. Ram said that in fact Rahul Gandhi's heart wasn't in it, that's why his camp hasn't matched up. Abhsiehk Singhvi says that his heart is not hankering. As you listen, do you get the feeling that in fact Ram is more correct, or do you get the feeling that Mr. Singhvi has given an adequate response? I'm asking you to adjudicate between the two of them for me.
Yeah, well, before I play judge, I must tell you that Indian tradition is all about not wanting a position of power very aggressively. History is replete with figures of people saying, I do not want this, and then they're pressed into service. So naked ambition, now this is the new India. So naked ambition is very, very important. I think Mr. Ram is absolutely right where he says that Rahul came across somebody who did not have that pronounced aggressive push for selling a somewhat weak product, but he did not show a push for this job.
Okay.
He did not show that level of aggression, and Mr. Modi did. Even then, I would say that I don't think that has scored a hit everywhere. It's perhaps scored a hit with these middle classes that we keep talking about. It's about 120 million people compared to about 800 million voters.
Let me stop you.
I don't think that that factor has mattered so much.
Well, let me stop you. I'm going to stop you, Siddharth Bhatt, because you're making an interesting point that I want Dr. Swami to